12 o'clock, three-man front. Hope everybody's doing well. Landrum Roberts, Damian Mitchell. That is Molly Robinson. It's already been a jam-packed show. Wimp Sanderson, presented by Craneworks. In the 10 o'clock hour, Mike Rodak, who covers the Alabama Crimson Tide, talking Bama hoops as they travel to Baton Rouge to take on LSU. 5 o'clock inside the Maravich Assembly Center tomorrow. Also, we had the spouse game where Damian's fiance Taylor joined us. That was a whole lot of fun. Any portion of the show that you missed, you can always find it at the Three-Man Front podcast at jocksfm.com. Updating you on semifinal hockey action. This will set up the gold medal game. Hopefully, the United States, who's going to be playing later on today, will be a part of that gold medal game on Sunday. Canada, they were trailing Finland 2-0. They've knotted it up. It's all about the puck. 2-2 as they play late, I believe, Damian, in the third period.
Yeah, in the third.
So we're going to get another overtime.
I mean, listen, this is getting down to the wire, so you expect these teams to be playing at a high level. I'm not opposed to another overtime game.
I'm not opposed to Blake Lovell enlightening us, educating us on everything we need to know about the SEC and college basketball. And he joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Blake, how are you?
Doing well, guys. Good to talk to you as always.
Good to talk to you. Latest bracketology is out. Let's just start with the team that could be out, barring some kind of run here at the end of the season. I know what bracketology says, but you see body language. You see this team, this Auburn basketball team. What happened? What has really happened down the last 5-6 games of the season? It's been rough. Your breakdown. What do they need? What are you hearing?
Yeah, there's not a question I feel like I've been asked more over the past 2 weeks than why in the world is Auburn still considered to be in this field or whatever. And I'm like, I don't think it's that complicated. I mean, for starters, like, you got to field a tournament of 68 teams. And it's not just what your resume is, it's what the resume is of teams around you. And why Auburn, I think right now, would still be in the tournament today and not even be in Dayton is because they have the number one strength of schedule in the country. And if you really think about it, yes, they're 14-12, and I'm going to get to the second part of the equation in a second. That was their first bad loss of the season, was at Mississippi State on Wednesday. Every other loss, no one would really consider a bad loss unless you want to say, well, we shouldn't have lost by 30 to Michigan or 29 to Arizona, but you're talking about two number one seeds there. And so I think from that standpoint, you have to field the tournament. And Auburn still has a better resume than most of the teams that are still around them, let's say teams that are even factored out of the field right now. I don't see those teams jumping a team like Auburn unless, part two, at this point you have to start winning games, though. Your strength of schedule can only carry you so far. So when you've lost 5 in a row and you just had your first bad loss of the season, now you got to start winning games. And this is where they start to hit the danger zone a little bit here to me, because you're looking at the remaining schedule and you're thinking, all right, it's great that we get to play Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and LSU, but it's not so great because those really aren't games that are going to prop you up that much, which means those two other games, Kentucky at home tomorrow, at Alabama on Saturday, those are crucial because even if you get one of those games and you don't have a bad loss to an LSU at home or an Ole Miss at home, that will be enough, I think, just to say, all right, I don't want to say we're comfortably in the field, but we're still going to be, nowhere near Dayton just because we have such a strong strength of schedule. And just by getting another really good win or two, that's really all Auburn's going to need.
Yeah, Blake, and kind of looking at the field for the SEC of teams that could potentially be in the tournament, is there one team that could be kind of a dark horse where you probably I wouldn't necessarily say be surprised if they made a run, but they're talented and good enough to, hey, if they're in the Sweet 16 Elite 8 competition, that it wouldn't be that far-fetched?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're looking at that group of just kind of, it's a mess in the middle there. And we mentioned like Auburn now would be considered a bubble team. I mean, I think the other team that probably that has done itself the most kind of in the positive way, I think, is Texas, just because, I mean, it's not long ago. We're talking about them not being in the field. And again, that was not that long ago, but they've done the opposite of what Auburn's done. They've won 5 in a row. And I think with Texas, what we have to remember with them, and, they're kind of similar to not the exact same, but similar to that Alabama model from a couple of years ago where everybody kept saying, well, Alabama can't make the run to the Final Four because their defense was so bad. And they were like a, sub 100 defensive type team or wherever they were ranked. But they had a great offense. And the thing about Texas is somehow, some way, if you watch them, you probably don't look at Texas and say that's like the sixth or seventh best offensive team in the country. But the numbers tell us it is. And so from that standpoint, like if you're going to pick kind of a wild card type team, I can't say I completely trust them. I think they can still be a little inconsistent. But I think if their offense is kind of doing what it's been doing, and that's where this is a team that really thrives at the free throw line. In those kind of matchups where you have these tightly called games sometimes in the NCAA tournament and such, I can't say that Texas matchup wise couldn't find a way to maybe get there. But the biggest part of that is going to be, can they possibly avoid that 8-9 game? I think right now it's going to be hard to do it. So from that standpoint, it may make their road a little bit tougher, but they're probably the biggest wild card team, I'd say, of the bunch.
Blake Lovell joining us here on Three Man Front, as he does on Fridays during the college basketball season. All of our guests join us on the Higginbotham hotline. Blake, when you look at the entire SEC, you laid them out there at the Blake Lovell. They're on the X, but Alabama and Florida, they're at the top. If you had to pick two teams right now from the entire list that we think the projected teams that could be going from the SEC, you pick two teams and you got to take your chances and roll with them in the tournament. Matchups can change. Talent, it's there. Are you going Florida, Alabama, or are you picking someone else?
Yeah, it would probably be Florida, Alabama. I still, for the longest time this season, I said I thought Alabama had the highest upside of any team. Now, that was before Florida started looking like last year's Florida. And then I was like, well, I may swap that a little bit. But still, I think those are the two teams that feel like they have the highest upside. But obviously, I mean, the team that is maybe a 2A with Alabama and 2B, it has to be Arkansas, just because not of what we saw 2 nights ago, but I think when you really look at Arkansas's profile this season, they kind of have all the characteristics you need to make a deep run in the tournament to a Final Four. They have the star in Darius Acuff. They have the guard play beyond him. And they've had a much better defensive presence, I think. And I know some people may laugh at that, like, well, they just gave up 117. But if you look at it, how many other teams out there are Alabama, right? You're not going to get those kind of games against 98% of the country. So I think from that standpoint, if you look at kind of their defensive metrics over the past month or so, sitting that game aside, they've been really good and a lot more improved there. And Trevin Brazil has been a big reason for that. So I think that combination of having, again, what is a top 5 offensive team in the country like Arkansas, they're going to be right there with Alabama. And I think they're pretty similar in that regard. But I would still probably pick Florida and Alabama as the top 2.
Blake, I know you guys are going to have your instant reaction. This is a busy weekend and a vital weekend for these teams' resumes in the SEC, either to maybe secure your spot in the NCAA tournament or to improve seeding. But some of these pivotal matchups, who do you think can do the most for themselves this weekend, and probably who can hurt themselves the most?
Yeah, it feels like Missouri. If you want to build off of that Vanderbilt win, if you can somehow go play an Arkansas team that maybe has a little bit of that hangover effect from the Alabama game and get a win there, I think that would be significant, because at that point, Missouri's probably in the field. I think it'd be hard for them to, maybe not be in at that point, because as of right now, that win against Vanderbilt pushed them further a bit. So having another significant wins with that team needs, because they're the opposite of Auburn. And it's the Missouri versus Auburn fans are going at it, but I'm like, there's just a night and day difference in their non-conference schedule. Auburn's number 1 overall strength of schedule. Missouri is like in the 340s. So they need more good wins. And so if they can, go into Bud Walton, kind of do what feels like a tough thing to do, although we saw Kentucky do it, I think it would be significant for Missouri. And then, if you're looking at the teams that feel like, obviously, the most to lose, I think it's Auburn. Like, I think they have to be able to win this home game against Kentucky, because if they don't, then you're staring down a 6-game losing streak, going and playing an improved Oklahoma team. And then what happens if you lose both of those games? Then I think you're out of the field at that point. And somehow you've got to find a way to have wins over Ole Miss, LSU, help you get in, which I don't think those are going to do you any favors. And then maybe it comes down to that final game of the season in Alabama, and you certainly don't want that if you're Auburn. So I think Auburn's kind of in a must-win situation tomorrow against Kentucky at home. And I think Missouri, again, may have the most to gain just by going in and maybe getting an upset win against Arkansas. That may put them, I don't say safely into the field, because there's still 4 games to go afterwards, but it puts them in a really good spot.
Final question for me, Blake. Can we looking at the SEC tournament specifically, outside of Florida, who we are presumably assuming that they're going to be the number one overall seed in the SEC tournament. But if you had to pick a team that could potentially see them in the final and could knock them off, who would that team be?
Yeah, I mean, I think Arkansas is certainly, I mean, probably matchup wise would be a team that I'd be intrigued by if that's the final. Unfortunately, we've already seen Florida kind of do what they did to Tennessee and Alabama, so it's probably hard to pick either one of those. I mean, the other team I'd throw into the mix would be Vanderbilt, and I know people have kind of been down on them that they've lost some games that you feel like they shouldn't against Oklahoma and Missouri, but they lost both of those by a combined 2 points. And think about they're playing without what I still think is one of the 10 best players in the SEC in Duke Miles. And I think he's going to be back probably, if not this weekend, he'll be back next week. So if they get him back and maybe they get Frankie Collins back, another, guard who hasn't played in a while, but he's defensive wise, like he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the SEC. So if Vanderbilt has their full allotment, or even if they just have Duke Miles back, I think you're looking at the team that's going to look more like the team that started 16-0 versus the one that's maybe lost some head scratchers to Oklahoma and Missouri. So I would throw Vanderbilt in there too, because I mean, if we think about it, outside of Auburn, getting the win against Florida, and of course Missouri beat Florida in the first game of SEC play. Vanderbilt played Florida pretty well in that 98-94 game there in mid-January. So I would throw Vanderbilt into the mix too.
Blake, I have to ask you because the seats are heating up with the head coaches in the SEC, and that's the way across college basketball. But there's a lot of high stakes. There's big money paid towards these rosters. Porter Moser, Matt McMahon, Lamont Paris. What are you hearing on potential shakeup in athletic departments and coaching moves in the SEC specifically this offseason?
Yeah, I think a lot of this in all areas is going to come down to money. Surprise, surprise, right?
Yeah.
What are these three schools interested in doing financially? Because I think that's going to be the name of the game here. And you would think after seasons like this, Oklahoma kind of has to make a move. You would kind of feel like the same, maybe with LSU and South Carolina. And that's why, like, I've tried to figure out if I had to rank it from like most likely to least likely. I think the most likely probably is Oklahoma, unless they were to be able to have a good run here, because I felt the same way going into last year. And, they got off to such a good start, made the tournament, but I just don't think this is the follow-up you wanted. And there's always kind of been speculation there. And I do say speculation is the key word. Obviously you can't, say that there's just full hard evidence here, but I think there is people around there who just think that it's just not the greatest fit for both parties. And so maybe that's what you want, is both sides just to say, hey, this isn't working. Let's just go our separate ways and we'll both be better off. And if I had to rank the least likely, it may be LSU, surprisingly, because I don't know what LSU is willing to invest right this second in basketball. And I think that's a lot of that's going to come down to what they're investing in football. And the AD can say what he wants publicly about how Matt McMahon, needs to make the tournament and all this other stuff, but are they going to actually put up the money they need financially to make this thing a big success? Because again, if you're comparing NIL numbers, and we're talking about these three schools right here, Oklahoma, LSU, South Carolina, I mean, this, guys. You look around at what Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Texas, and so forth are spending. I'd be shocked if these three schools are spending the same amount of money that they are. So a lot of it's going to come down to that. But I'll say this, I wouldn't be surprised if all three made moves, but also wouldn't be surprised if one of them happens to still be the coach there, because the financials don't set up. But I just think all of them put themselves in a really tough spot from a fan support standpoint. So it's going to be difficult, I think, for any of them.
Yeah, it's a tough spot for Oklahoma's Porter Moser. I say this, don't ever judge a book by its cover, because he looks really gruff and he doesn't look like somebody that's that personable, but had the opportunity to go out behalf of Westwood One and our station and cover the Final Four, and got to meet and visit with Porter Moser for about 25 minutes, Blake. A delightful human being. I would hang out with Porter Moser every day of the week, and he's a really good coach.
He is a good coach, and I just think that's a tough spot, right? Because where are you in the pecking order at Oklahoma? I mean, whether we're talking football, baseball, softball, like, it's just, I think it's a tough sell right now. And so whoever it is, if it's not him next season, they've got to, I think, commit to making this. And I think they would, but I'm not sure right now. Like, if you look at their roster compared to others, I'm not sold on it right this second.
And Porter had to be watching Venables make the college football playoff. Like, no,
Yeah, right.
no. Keep all the attention over there. He's Blake Lovell. You can find him all weekend. The instant reaction this time of year, if you have not tuned in to Blake so far there on social media and YouTube, shame on you. But your opportunity to catch up right now just in time for tournament time, conference tournaments, March Madness, and filling out your bracket. He and that crew are the best, and just some really good folks. Blake, we always appreciate you taking time to visit with us and enlighten us for the college basketball weekend and beyond.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, Blake. Blake Lovell joining us there from Southeastern 16. All of our guests join us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham's your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services, takeaways, bracket breakdown, all of that and more. Three-Man Front continues on Jocks. $12:21, three-man front. So glad you're with us on this Friday. Update from Olympic hockey. Hopefully, the United States opponent on Sunday, the Canadians, they come back from a 2-goal deficit to knock off Finland in the semifinal matchup in Milan. 3-2 without Sidney Crosby. Expected that he was resting and should be back for the gold medal match or game, but United States will be in action a little bit later on today, just past 2 o'clock here, local time. Go USA. Of course, U.S. women's hockey team wins gold over the Canadians yesterday. JR, he wins gold every single Friday. He wins money for you guys out there, 16-5 on the air with his free picks starting back in late August in the college football and NFL seasons. That carries over into college basketball, the NBA. He's really good at that too. JR, how are you, my friend?
Doing outstanding. I got to tell you, man, obviously over 75% wins here on the radio. I hope that your listeners do take advantage of those games every week that we give them out, as well as I hope they're taking advantage of contacting us and making money on a really, really, really high level. I mean, right now, when I tell you things are going to be rolling right into this NCAA tournament with clients really beefing up their bankrolls, taking advantage of this in-conference play. Plus, we've been making a lot of money on the Olympic hockey. I got to tell you, man, it's been great. I've been watching just about every game, really following it deep. No NHL, so got to get the fix somewhere. But here's what I'm going to do, okay? Text the word WIN, W-I-N, to the number 545454. I'm going to give you guys not one, but two huge blowouts, two huge wins, okay? You get my NBA game of the month, absolutely free, via text message. And I'm also going to give you this big winner between Alabama LSU tomorrow. There's no point spread out on it yet, but Alabama's going to be -3.5 or 4.5 in this matchup. We're going to give you that game absolutely free as well. So text the word WIN to 545454. You get my NBA game of the month and the winner of Alabama LSU happening tomorrow. Make sure you take advantage of these games, guys, because very little time left before the big dance. And I'm telling you, we're going to make a huge score like we always do. I'm going to be in Vegas. Hope you can come too. First and second round. I'll be out there from that Wednesday through Monday. So text WIN to 545454. Let me get you on track to make a big, big score and put some money in your bank.
You know, JR, with NIL, the transfer portal, it has affected college basketball as we knew it would, maybe even more so because the amount of teams and some of the Cinderella runs that have made this pageantry, the history, the nostalgia of this tournament so much fun with those George Masons that make the runs. The list goes on and on from season to season. You're seeing less of that, the Cinderellas that can make a deep run into the tournament, and a lot of that is because of the funneling of the talent to the top. How much has that affected what you guys do? Not going to get into what you guys do because that makes what you guys do so unique, but how much has it affected you guys and how you break down the tournament when it comes to those particular matchups?
Well, just like anything else, with when it comes to handicapping, right, you have to look at every individual situation. So you can't go by, especially nowadays, it's not like it was 10 years ago, 12 years ago, where you can handicap based on last year's team having about a 70% impact on what they're going to have this year based on how many guys are coming back, how many starters are left. Since they started the one and done, and now with the transfer portal, it's really, really just stirred things up. It hasn't made it harder. We've just had to adjust, and that's why your question is, very relevant to today's action. And if you're not doing that, if you're not breaking it down player by player, even down to the height, like when we go and we look at games, we go all the way, to obviously individual matchups, but we go looking even deeper, and I find we get some great information going and looking at the local papers, for instance. I mean, there's so deep that you can go, and we break down just about every game on the board until we find the one that we know is an absolute huge mismatch. For instance, this Alabama LSU game, I think, is going to be great. That's why we're going to give it for free when they text the word WIN to 545454. But we have a huge game happening tomorrow on the West Coast that is going to be basically branded as my chip game. That's the guy I do the podcast with. His name is Chris Hodge, and he's got an insider play. Guy's an ex-coach and an ex-NFL scout. I mean, you want to talk about just some great games that have been coming in at a really high percentage. He's 7-1 in these chip games this year, as well as just cleaning up last year. So we've got one of those tomorrow as well, and we like to break these games down, and even give it a certain value, if you will. And that's where my unit-based system for my bigger clients comes into play, where we'll tell you to bet anywhere from 1 to as much as 5 units. So take advantage, guys. I'm telling you now, got my NBA game of the month. You guys know I'm going to win. So text WIN to 545454. Let me give you this winner for free, plus the point spread winner of the Alabama LSU game. All you got to do is text WIN to 545454.
As we mentioned, your record on the air, 16-5, and it's not like you've just gone on a heater this season. This is why you keep coming back, and Jocks listeners call you because you know what you're talking about. The free winner, 16-5 on the year. We're going NBA this weekend. I know you're dialed into that. Out on the West Coast, you got Lakers and Clippers. Tell us about it.
Obviously, the Clippers coming off a big win against the Nuggets last night, but it was a hard-fought game. They scored over 115 points each. They're going to be, I don't want to say tired, but after coming off of an 8-day stint or 7-day stint of not playing and then getting back in the action, a little bit of soreness. Now having, they're not going to have to travel very far, but they're going to be taking on, obviously, the Lakers, who have been well-rested. They're going to get a little rust off, but they're not going to even look back. This game will be an absolute burial. I'm looking for the Lakers to win this game by no less than 10. The line right now is up to 7.5, opened at 6.5. A lot of people are going to be looking at the Clippers after coming off that big win yesterday, but I'm telling you now, Lakers bury them tonight between 11 and 15 points. Get all over the L.A. Lakers. That's your free pick on air. But look, my breakdown on air, always good. Obviously, you guys know you can make money on the one game, but if you're serious about really wanting to make some money, and I don't mean get rich off this, okay? This is about just treat it like a business, okay? Whatever little bit of capital that you're working with that's discretionary, let's turn it into something big. Let's enjoy the tournament this year by making a big score. Text WIN, that's WIN, to the number 545454. We're going to give you absolutely free via text message the big winner with my NBA game of the month happening tonight and the winner of Alabama LSU for tomorrow. So again, text WIN to 545454. Landrum, as always, guys, be sure to check out my podcast, Bet Big Talk Loud. Landrum, I'm going to ask you to be a guest on that as well. And as always, guys, be safe, have fun, and let's go out there and make some money.
JR, before you go, I know you're dialed into hockey. We got the U.S. and Slovakia coming up. Do you want to give me a wink, wink? Should we be concerned as U.S. hockey fans?
Listen, you're not going to be concerned in this one. This is going to get the win. Slovakia is good, okay? They've got about 7 NHLers on that team. They fight hard. They're feisty. They're going to be quick. But the U.S., they just haven't played a great game yet, and they're still winning. I'm not saying that they're going to be able to necessarily beat Canada when they get into the medal game on Sunday, but I like the U.S. against Slovakia. I think they're going to come out and play as a cohesive unit, which is why they put this team together the way that they did and left some of our better players out, because they do play well as a team. You got some brothers in there with the Kachucks. You've also got the Hughes brothers. This is going to be a great display of what the U.S. can do, and it's going to make it a more exciting medal game when they go on to play Canada on Sunday. I would not be afraid to lay the 2.5 goals minus the 135 here with the U.S.
That's why you're the best, JR. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend. We enjoy every time that you join us.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, guys. Go out there and make some money, would you?
Thanks, JR. We'll talk to you next week. That is JR. JR wins. Remember, 545454 is going to give the winner of Alabama LSU the free pick he gave us on the air. He said jump all over the Lakers, over the Clippers. The Clippers, they might be a little tired, right? People get tired. Even Molly gets tired. She looks like she's awake in there. That's a good thing. It's a fun Friday. We continue on 3-Man Front. 12:35, three-man front. United States, Slovakia coming up. Semifinal action in men's hockey there in Milan. Canada just came from behind again.
Yeah.
They knock off Finland, but we want the Canadians in the gold medal game.
Bring them on
Sunday.
Bring them on. Y'all want some more smoke? We got you.
Yeah. You already been beat once.
Exactly.
We can beat you again.
Clean sweep, baby.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what you can't beat. You cannot beat our friends at the Garage in Pelham. TheGarageInPelham.com. Bob is the owner. He's a wonderful human being. He's all about giving back to the community. He sponsors local schools and charities, but it's great people you're going to deal with. I'm all about that. If you listen to this show, I deal with people. People buy from people. Relationships, that's a big part of where we live, community. You're going to get it there at the Garage in Pelham. Walk into a very clean, professional lobby. Robert and Richie, who listen to Jocks. Hey, guys, they're listening right now. Damien, say hello.
Hey.
They're listening right now. They're going to take care of you. You don't have to worry about your wife, your girlfriend, your daughter going in there. They're going to be treated with the respect that they deserve. You can drop off your car in the morning, pick it up in the afternoon. Nationwide warranty, only using factory parts when applicable. Anything from, heaven forbid, you got to replace your engine. They can actually do it there, but oil change, anything else, air conditioner checkups, make sure your batteries, your alternators are good to go. It's our friend at The Garage. TheGarageInPelham.com. Check them out, TheGarageInPelham.com. Tell all the guys down there that Landrum from Jocks sent you, our very good friend, catching us up on spring training baseball and other things. Barrett Sallee, he is the pregame host and postgame and in-betweens and rainouts and podcasts, and he does a lot. Barrett, how are you, my brother?
I'm good, man. How are you?
We're doing great. First, and I know just to kind of catch the listeners up, but we have some new faces, semi-new face. We got Walt Weiss taking over. We talked to you after he had been named the manager, but being around Walt Weiss, how he's running things, is it status quo? Is it much like we got with Brian Snitker, or are you seeing some differences?
Well, I don't think we've seen a ton different so far. Walt's definitely more, I wouldn't say aggressive, but he's more upbeat than Snit. And he's a little more open. He'll tell you a little bit more about, what it actually is. Snit was very guarded in that, he kind of protected his players a little bit more than Walt probably will. But with that said, it's still, the Braves way. That's a real thing. Making sure you handle yourself professionally, do the right things, do the little things. None of that really changed. And I don't really think that's a Walt Weiss thing. I think that's just something that gets passed on from, generation to generation. That's how, the players in the 90s did it. Then Chipper took over, and then Freddie took over. And then now you have Austin and some other guys sort of, using that same method. So, I think from a baseball perspective, a lot of it is player driven, but I think for Braves fans, you're going to see Walt maybe be a little bit more open and tell you a little bit more in press conferences in the clubhouse than maybe you're used to from Brian Snitker. So like I said, Brian Snitker was, really, really protective of his players. Walt will be too, but a lot like Nick Saban, right? When Nick Saban called out a player in a press conference, it was on purpose, right? There was a reason behind it. I think you might see a little bit of that from Walt Weiss.
Barrett Sallee, he is the host there on the Braves Radio Network, and we are your home for Braves baseball once again right here, Jocks, and our family of stations all season long. Barrett joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline. For the fans around here, and you know it well, growing up here in the Deep South, going to school here in this state, we start brushing off the college football cobwebs and everything. We kind of put that away for a second. We catch up on college basketball. We got a lot of Braves fans, and they're going to find themselves going, all right, what exactly happened in the offseason besides Brian Snitker being gone? Update folks on the key acquisitions that you think could be vital for the Braves' success this year.
Well, the biggest one was Ha-Sung Kim until he slipped on some ice in Korea. But it does sound like he's –
Is that not the most Braves injury ever?
I mean, honestly, Landrum, I saw it and I was like, "Oh God, here we go." I mean, this is the most Braves thing ever. But re-signing him is huge, and when he comes back, he'll take over for Mauricio Dubon who was signed from the Astros. And Dubon's a decent hitter, a good fielder. He's perfectly capable of holding down the fort for a couple of months. I think from a designated hitter standpoint, and you and I talked about this before the season ended. It's kind of clear that Marcell Ozuna was gonna be gone, and he couldn't play the field. And what they've essentially done is created a four-man outfield rotation with Mikey Yastrzemski being that fourth man. I do think you're going to see all of those players talking about Profar, Michael Harris, and Ronald Acuna. Kind of roll through the designated hitter spot, and part of it is because of a philosophy change. Walt Weiss hired Antoine Richardson to be his first base coach, and that guy focuses on stolen bases more than anything else. He made Juan Soto a legit base stealing threat last year with the Mets. So you're going to see that be a big part of the game plan, which means you want some of your outfielders to stay fresh. And I said this, yesterday, if Ronald Acuna plays more than 140 games in right field, I'm going to be disappointed, because I want him to get off of his feet from time to time to make sure he can, utilize the aspect of his game, those legs. So, and then from a pitching standpoint, re-signing Raisel Iglesias is huge to be the closer. He was awesome the last 2 months of the season. But getting Robert Suarez, who going into the offseason, two of the top three relief pitchers were Raisel Iglesias and Robert Suarez. Getting Robert Suarez to not only come to Atlanta, but agree to be an eighth inning guy, really solidified that bullpen, because it pushes, Dylan Lee back down to a seventh inning guy, Aaron Bummer, whoever else. You have a phenomenal 1-2 punch at the end of the game. So, the bullpen, I think, is one of the best in baseball, or should be one of the best in baseball. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Sean Murphy's still out. There's really no timetable for his return yet after hip surgery. They did get Jonah Heim, who was an all-star 3 years ago with the Rangers, but it's had some pretty down seasons, two down seasons since then. But I think he's good enough to start maybe 2 games a week, maybe 2 games every week and a half, and give Drake some opportunity to get off his feet. And that way, when Sean comes back, you have a catching position that's pretty darn solid if Sean can come back and be healthy and do what he did in the first half of the season a couple of years ago.
If you had a deficiency just because he's longer in the tooth, and I saw something on YouTube, he was submerged in his saltwater aquarium playing with his fish and cleaning his aquarium tank. One, Ozzie Albies, the Braves' second baseman. Last year, I thought, and I know he had some time left on his contract, that should have been the, hey, Ozzie, thank you for everything. It was not. Is that a glaring weakness, or do you think that Ozzie can get back to 75% of the Ozzie form that we've been accustomed to?
I'm skeptical. I wonder, we haven't seen a game yet, and I think that's going to be interesting to see what he uses from a bat perspective, because I think the multiple wrist injuries should have forced him to use a lighter bat. And
is that a pride thing with him?
Yeah, maybe, and that's the thing, because he has the heaviest bat on the Braves. Yeah. Ozzie Albies has always had the heaviest bat. It might be a pride thing. I think at some point you have to swallow your pride, and maybe this time is now. But $7 million, man, that's below league average, right? So you're still getting what you pay him. You're getting what you pay for, but you want him, and we kind of need him to be the Ozzie of old, where he was pretty consistent from both sides of the plate, and right-handed. He had a lot of power, way more power than people expect from a little guy. So I understand the frustration and skepticism with Ozzie, because it's just kind of been a slow regression as he's gotten older. I'm fascinated to see what another year with Tim Hires as the hitting coach does for him, because we saw when he went into slumps, he's been streaky at times, but he was not as streaky as he was last year, because there was about a month and a half span where he looked lost. So, you're going to get what you pay for. $7 million is fine, but I don't think it's just a foregone conclusion that he's just going to be thrown out there every day. If he struggles again, they might have to find some way to fix things a little bit.
It seems like there's a lot of moving parts, and if everything came together and we said a prayer and they were all healed and they were healthy, wow, what a staff. But you look at the pitching staff and the injuries and lingering injuries, and we're cleaning up elbows and all of that stuff. Swelly, Hurston Waldrop, of course, Ray, Spencer Strider coming back. Break it down for us, Barrett. What does the Braves pitching rotation look like? Best case scenario.
Best case scenario, everybody stays healthy from here on out. Chris Sale, Spencer Strider, Ronaldo Lopez, and Grant Holmes coming back, not having to go through Tommy John is huge. We talked to Alex Anthopoulos, a couple months ago, and he said basically it's been a normal offseason for Grant really since mid-November-ish. So they're confident that he can be, who he was at his best. And then I think number 5 is going to be Bryce Elder. I know there's a differing opinion one way or the other.
Well, depends on which day you get Bryce.
Well, yes, and the Bryce we had for the last month of the season, that was all-star Bryce.
Yeah.
That's what made him an all-star. And Alex is very big. Alex Anthopoulos is very big on what have you done for me lately. And every time we've talked to him in this offseason, he has just harped on how impressed he was with Bryce Elder at the end of last season. So, I think he's going to be the number 5. He doesn't have any options left. So either they got to release him or keep him on the team somehow. If he's not the 5th starter, do they put him as a long man in the bullpen? But I do think I've always sort of thought that Alex was going to go out and sign one of these veterans that is still out there. If Hurston Waldrop's injury happened 2 weeks ago instead of, a few days ago, I firmly believe Chris Bassett would be here. I firmly believe that. But he signed with Baltimore. The timing of Waldrop's thing was terrible. Zach Gallen is now off the market as well. I always thought that they were going to go out and get somebody. Did they go out and get 2 guys? That's still, I think, a little bit aggressive if they do that. But I think what really is sort of the key here is that if Alex was asking for, a 1-year deal from pitchers like Bassett or Zach Gallen, whoever, doesn't matter. Now agents are going to be like, all right, we get 1 and a player option after that. And that was not that would not be something that the Braves would have been interested in, a month ago. But now they might have to do that.
Barrett just promised me that our Braves don't start 0-7.
I can definitely guarantee 1 win in the first series against the Royals.
Okay. All right. Well, you'll still get blamed if they.
We're not
they go.
going. God, last year was terrible.
Yeah. Barrett's first year in the Braves broadcast, and they start out 0-7, and fans were ready to torch him.
0-7. Ronaldo Lopez gets hurt. Jurickson Profar gets suspended. All in the first week of the season.
Yeah. And you know what? It never got any better. Kept waiting for it.
It really didn't.
Yeah. Never got any better. It was awful. I'm so glad that season's over.
We were talking about last season. I can't remember what we were talking about. But we were, I guess just going down all of the things that happened that were horrible. And honestly, it even started with Orlando Arcia.
Yeah.
Struggling.
Yeah.
That was a thing that happened too.
Yeah.
And then getting released. Orlando Arcia in spring training struggled, and that was the first thing that went wrong last season, and then it just every single day.
He was abysmal. We could have done better in spring training. I think he had 4 hits out of 60 at bat. It was crazy. It was not good. Yeah.
Well, and I think though with having Nick Allen out there was a liability certainly with the bat, but having Dubon back there at shortstop, that is certainly an upgrade as a backup, and Hassan Kim coming back is going to certainly give a boost as well. But in a perfect world, I think this was the plan last year when Arcia was still there, is that you would have Michael Harris bat 9th.
Yeah.
And Michael Harris likes batting 9th. We've asked him about that. I think that's probably going to be the plan this year too. But you got to stay healthy, and Michael's got to not be what he was last year at times. So, but I do think last year, when they figured out that they can't bat Michael Harris 9th, then everything changed.
Barrett Sallee, this is where we get our Braves info. You can find him all season long, their radio host on the Atlanta Braves radio network. Barrett, when can I get all of my Braves content from you? Where next?
All the time.
All the time.
The podcast is coming back in a couple weeks, pregame and postgame, every single game, except one. I'm taking a vacation around the All-Star break this year.
Okay.
It's not 162. It's 161 for me this year. But, podcast coming back, and then 680 The Fan, Braves Clubhouse report across the Braves radio network on Wednesdays. So, it's starting to get to that point where my wife is like, I might not see you for a little while.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, when you see Ronald Acuna, tell him we enjoyed him in the halftime performance of Bad Bunny there at the Super Bowl.
I will do that.
He looked good, not
really
moving
good
around and
standing there.
injuring anything. He was just propped up like a
Honestly,
coat
I had
rack.
to rewind it. I was like, is that Is that Ron?
Oh, my wife was like, "That's Ronald Acuna." I was like, "No, it's not. He's not out."
Yeah, there's no way.
No, he is. He's there representing Venezuela.
And he got that invitation that day. Like he found out that day that he was gonna that they wanted him to do it.
Must be cool to be cool. Barrett Sallee, Braves Radio Network. Barrett, brother, thank you so much, and hopefully you'll be joining us all season long.
Thanks, man. See you up here soon.
All right, sounds good. Barrett Sallee, Braves Radio Network. We continue here on Three Man Front. $12.54. Appreciate it. Our friend Barrett Sallee, the Braves Radio Network. Once again, Jocks, your home for Braves baseball all season long. Landrum Roberts, Damian Mitchell, Molly Robinson. Pat is back on Monday. And Conrad is moving with Paige today, all weekend, and Monday as well.
How do you feel about your Braves, man? Are you confident that they can turn this thing around? I know injuries kind of played a big part into y'all's season last year.
Much of last year's Braves fans was frustrating. But, yeah, I think that they can turn it around. Hopefully you get better luck with the injuries and guys are able to stay healthy. But tough schedule to start. Last year you start on the road in San Diego against the Padres.
Yeah.
Then you have the, 4-game set against the Dodgers.
Yeah.
That's a good recipe to start 0-7.
Yeah, but it happens.
But as Barrett just guaranteed us, at least one win versus the Royals. It's got to be better than it was last year. Yeah. And I'm optimistic about Walt Weiss. The Braves way. That's a real thing. Keep all those guys healthy.
Chop on.
Yep.
Fight for Choptober, right?
Choptober.
Choptober.
U.S. men's hockey about to face off against Slovakia in the men's semifinal. They will face Canada if they win on Sunday. Canada comes back from behind to knock off Finland. And the other part of the semifinal, 3-2. Tell you about our friends at Crafts. Crafts, the newest location right there on 280. It's the old Wendy's. It's a beautiful new location, outfitted. It's so fancy. It's nice. I was in there yesterday. Wonderful patio, especially this time of year. Sit outside, enjoy one of those great frozen cocktails, the great made-from-scratch chicken tenders, the in-house made sauces, and all of those stick-to-your-rib sides, Damien. They're so good. The drive-through for breakfast as well. It's Crafts, the newest location, Highway 280. Go and see them, and always tell them Landrum from Jocks sent you. Fourth and final hour next.